Welcome to the panel about energy solidarity in Europe.
This is really a long-term solution and has to be looked at in terms of a long-term solution. And the same can be said in the United States, where up until World War II, people thought of themselves as primarily belonging to their individual state first and the federal system second. And the cooperation, the mobility, the infrastructure improvements that have been made help out and help everyone out. And we've had to overcome sort of some of these traditional notions of not wanting to do something in our home city or home state. We've gotten beyond the why should we bear a risk so someone else can reap a reward, and have looked at it in sort of the whole context. And so I totally agree. The solidarity is great, but cooperation and long-term solution has to begin with discussions today and has to begin with agreements because of the time it simply takes to build the infrastructure. We've gone from a perspective of thinking it's impossible to achieve energy independence. People were laughed at for decades, this elusive target which could not be reached, mainly because we were thought to be running out of fossil fuels, which is really what gave rise to, in part, the environmental movement in the U.S. Yes, the fighting global emissions was important, but sort of climate advocates started out with the notion that we have no choice because we are going to be out of fossil fuel sources in the U.S., North America, and B, sort of we really need to get away from the reliance on OPEC countries. And those of us that are older do remember, queuing up to have gasoline rationed out based on your license plate numbers after the Arab oil embargo in '73. What the U.S. has done perhaps a little bit differently is because most of the infrastructure is private sector, not public, and the government has sort of it's been characterized as a laissez-faire type of approach, but I think that probably goes too far, where the federal government sort of sets the stage with the ground rules and then allows the participants to compete. And that, coupled with emerging new technologies, especially a better understanding of underground exploration activities, seismic research, and horizontal directional drilling, and of course the controversial fracking, which I should point out was first done in the United States back in the 1940s. It's not a new technology at all. The United States has inadvertently become much less reliant on fuel from overseas. It has produced cheap energy for the United States, and it has allowed us, by being able to produce cheap electricity and cheap natural gas, it frees up money that can then be used for research and development